What's going on with you, man? I'm about to smash this food real quick, so my camera on after that.
All good. Yeah, not too much, man. I'm just kind of hanging out, doing whatever. So been busy, more craziness at work.
Oh yeah.
It's getting close to that time where things are just getting cold outside. So everybody sniffling and squeezing, things are
Oh
spreading.
yeah.
And now like COVID's everywhere and everybody's like freaking out. What are we doing? I'm like, yo, the death rate is like basically zero. Like if we could just take it down a notch, I think it's time for some new guidance. We have new guidance. CDC wants us to give people vaccines twice a year now instead of once. I'm like, so that's not what I'm talking about. No, we don't need to do that. There's no reason to do any of these precautions. Like certain people are high risk, and we should take precautions for those people. We should identify those people and force those people to put masks on. The
Got it.
rest of us can continue on about our lives. I don't know why we're even debating this. Like, stop. We're freaking out over crazy.
So why do you think that is though? Like, is it because people are vaccinated, or because we built up immunity, or the strain is just not as crazy?
Strain is not bad because the vaccines are only going to help your immune system fight it off faster, but they're not going to keep you from like having symptoms. You should still be really, really sick. You should just get really. You should live, and we're not getting really, really sick. So I'm like I'm not saying it's impossible to do things, but like the things we're really concerned about are like we're not even close to a virulent strain. Like it's contagious. Lots of people are getting it and testing positive, but like they don't even know they have it. That's pretty good on my end. I'm like, we should leave them alone. I think not even knowing you have it is probably something we could probably just leave them alone with. But other people are freaking out and they're doing things quote unquote differently. So anyway, that has made work busy.
Okay.
Because work gets busy, like in the sense that when people get sick enough, all the people who do have high risk go to the hospital. They go to the hospital doesn't know how to get them out of there, so they just send them to us. So they end up at a nursing home. We've had like 20 admissions. And so I usually get maybe like 2 or 3 admissions, maybe 10 a week per facility. But I've had like days where I got 10 to 20 admissions just in one facility. I'm like, this is not sustainable. What are we doing?
Damn.
That's crazy. And that level of craziness is put so much stress on the staff. We had like the entire management team quit last week. They just all of them decided like, oh, we're not doing this. This is dumb. I'm like, this was one bad day. Like it's been a bad week. And I was already stressed out, so I'm not doing it. So anyway,
Like quit or quit for the day or what?
They put their notice in and they're like, we will not be here in the next 2 weeks.
Damn.
Here's our notice. It's happening. I'm like, and so they had corporate come down and try to talk to them and like, well, give us a chance and blah, 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 blah. Like, they're like, you're the motherfuckers who made us want to quit in the first place. You're the one who forced us to take all these admissions, even though we told you we didn't have the staff to run the building. And then you're the ones who had asked us to do more things instead of just our jobs. I'm already doing 3 jobs. I'm not getting paid for most of them, and I don't want to keep doing this. So they're having talks, but their mind pretty well made up. You know, it's going to be really hard to go back on that and be like, well, we'll do things differently. And like they've never done things different. It's been 4 years. It's really, really hard to imagine. They'll okay.
I mean, I get it. I don't know. I guess the thing that that I'm thinking about, because I'm always bringing it back to something like, I'm thinking about the Leonard Peikoff when he wrote about doctors. I can't remember what book it was. And I don't know if you ever read that.
Anything like Peikoff, man. I read maybe like a article by him, and that was for the intro to one of the things he.
Yeah, it was just an essay I got, because it was in one of the Rand books. It was like the something like that, or Voice of Reason, and he was just talking about the doctors. And it's so funny to me because, you know, my friend, she a doctor. And I'm like, because I think people had this idea of doctors like, yeah, they're making all the money and they're just doing all the stuff and everything. And I know we've talked before, and I'm thinking, well, there's some squeezing going on. Because I know she's mentioned this before, you know, squeezing, I guess, from corporate, and I guess kind of the corporate, and I'm assuming that the corporate and the insurance company kind of got to do like a dance or something like, or insurance companies have to kind of like, I don't know. I guess for her, it was more of get people in and get them out. We got these metrics, and you got to hit these metrics. And I think she felt like she wasn't able to treat people like she wanted to all the time because of these metrics.
Now, we're not at the point where the metrics are overwhelming. Like, they're still really, really limiting, like ridiculously foolish. But right now, we're not at the point where we can't do any of the job. But we're at the point where, just like other fields have been corporatized to the point where documentation takes over as the job, we're at that point now, like where people are being the humanity portion is being relegated out of it, and I think
Okay.
that is painful for everybody, not through the patients, but for everyone else too. This is our job. It's crazy, and there's not enough money in the world to justify a lot of this. And a lot of the money is going straight to the money people. Like, I always find it crazy when people are just like, yeah, these doctors make all this money. I'm like, they only pay for procedures. So unless you're talking about a surgeon to a surgeon, then no, the assumption is wrong. Like, it's what we all were told, though. So I'm not blaming. I don't blame people when they come up with like, oh, doctor make all the money. I'm like, that's what they told us too. But now that we're doing it, we realize that was a lot. That was what the money people told us work, and they could keep making the money. And now that the rest of us are doing the work, we're like, oh, there's no money over here. It's just more work. Oh, this was stupid. We didn't look into this. We did not look into this at all.
You're like, I should have been a plastic surgeon.
Right? Or I should have been an insurance executive. I should have gone to MBA school, just chosen to work in finance. If I wanted money, I should have gone where the money was. That's the answer. If I wanted money, I should have done business. I'm building this is completely different. I have enough money to live. Don't get me wrong. I'm not starving. I'm just saying that, like, I could be, for the amount of training I went through, there are other programs that would have given me a much larger return on my investment. And I'm like, I didn't even know about ROI. I'm like, yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, but to be honest with you, the finance piece of it, I mean, being a person that works in finance, it's not really that difficult. It's just that you have to have that kind of approach or that kind of mind to do those things. I mean, so I think when how a lot of people just don't understand. This is why people truly make money. It's like a real thing to make money, because basically you just say, I have an idea and it's going to make this much money. Like, I have an idea to make, I don't know, whatever, this widget A. And I can envision us making widget A and making $1 million. I think I might have given a scenario like this before. And next year we're going to make $1 million, and we're going to build this budget off of this $1 million. So we're going to hire this person and this person and that person. And a lot of times with business, what the issue is the timing of the payments. So basically you got to put the money out. You like, I have this whole idea, and at the end of this cycle, I'm going to have more money than I put into the idea, right? But I actually have to put the money that I'm using in the idea cycle out right now, so I can get the money back at the end. But my whole budget is built around my revenues. So we're going to make $1 million next year. I'm going to run up maybe 700,000 in costs over that period. And then at the end, after I collect all that million and I put out that 700,000, I have $300,000. I made money. I made it out of nothing, out of an idea.
I was able to use it arbitrage and get to that level of profit, which is great. And I think that's cool for established industries and established businesses or established systems. But like a lot of medicine is touted as like a startup, and just we're not taught how to run or operate a startup. And they're like, yeah, just get out there and just put your shingle out there and attract all these patients and build your life base. I'm like, yo, that's like a 10-year effort of just getting started. With what money? Like, I started poor. I started a house worth in debt. I would another house worth of money start a business. What are you talking about? Also, I'd never run a business before. Who is going to give me more money to start a business? I don't know what I'm doing.
I mean, that's how I feel. Because, everybody feels like they can start a restaurant, it seems to me.
Like, I cook food. I can cook food for others. This is the
Right.
same. Not how that works at all.
Right. So for me, because the margins, first of all, the margins are pretty slim. And I wouldn't say that they're slim depending on your demographic or whatever your target audience is.
Top tier restaurant of all time in the city, your margins are crazy slim. Anyway, it's hard.
Right. But what people tend to say is you want somebody on your team with some kind of experience. And it almost doesn't, I wouldn't say it doesn't matter, but because if I start a restaurant, okay, I know how to cook food, but it's going to be something that pops up that I don't have any idea what this means. And the person that's been there is like, oh no, this means this. And you really need to do this. And regardless if I go with what they say or not, at least they have, to me, it's an instinct almost. Because
they have it. They've definitely done it enough to where they've got that down.
Right. So, I mean, but that's why a lot of people get mentors. And I think I'm not good at the mentor thing. Like, I'm the type of, that's going to hinder me being a person who doesn't like to ask people things a lot. For me, I just do my thing. Now, I will ask, but it's not, some people go through life like mentor to mentor to mentor to mentor. This is just their whole, because they have no problems with asking people stuff. And they have no problems with following what people say exactly to a T. And I'm just not like that. If you give me some information or if you give me a perspective or opinion, I'm almost never going to do it the exact way that you told me. I'm going to do it, I'm going to put my own twist on it.
Right. You're there for some background information and the resource. You're not there to full play by play. Like, this is what we're doing. Like, these are things that have been done. Good to know.
Right. But I don't know if that's not always, this is going to take me to another point real quick. Hold up. So I think we talked about Marcus Lemonis before, right? And what I've come to understand on the business mind, in a sense, it's almost like, and I said this before, they will do things like Marcus Lemonis will be like, "Yo, you have an idea. So what? So what you care about this thing? Do this, and you'll make money."
Right? Let's find the better concept on an MVP and just move forward. I don't have time to guss. We can do R&D later. We're not doing that right now.
Right. And so I just don't think that I have that part, because I think, not to say that they got to be immoral or anything like that. It's just that we make money. This is what our job is. And I understand that, but I need to do something that makes me happy or have an interest in. I can't just do the make money thing. It's not, I don't think that doesn't work for me. Like, oh, you wanted to build these things. Oh, you wanted to make music and you like this music, but people aren't buying that music. You should make this music over here. I don't think I want to make music anymore because
there you go. I'm like, you identified a hobby. You're like, I love this thing. And I would do anything for it. I'm like, great. That is your hobby. You can do all the fun things you ever want to do with it. But don't depend on that for your life. Don't depend on that to provide a living, because to make a living, you need to go to other people who have money and get it from them. And, sometimes they'll do it if they agree with you, but not everybody agrees with you. So you can't depend on them to afford your lifestyle. Therefore, find the things they want and do something else. And that's completely fine, because now you get to do what you want on your time, and you get to spend some other parts of your time doing what they want, so they give you money, which is what you're here for.
Yeah, I mean, but the beautiful thing about it is that there are some people who do what they want and they win.
Yes.
So I would just like to fall in that category.
Be the default. We can't start there and use. No, I'm going to say it differently. If you want to do what you want to do in a way that you like and that makes you happy, and use it as a way to make a living, then you have to be really clear about what industry you can work in and what people or market you're serving. If you can identify those people who love what you love and will pay you for what you love, then you need to continue to make sure you give them some fan service. Actually, do what they want well enough for them to consistently pay you. Because that can be done. People do it, but it's just not done. And you're not going to find that by accident. You're not going to fall into it and be like, all right, this is something that happened, and now I've developed a system that consistently gives me this amount of money each day. I'm like, it doesn't happen by accident. You're going to have to do this on purpose.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't, I would say it doesn't happen by accident often. I would say that there are probably some people who just said, hey, I just started doing this thing and people started buying it. And I had no, I had no clue that it was going to be this successful. You
Right.
know?
They had no idea about the success. They had no idea about the interest, but they did have a great idea about the system. They had like, this is how I'm going to have to structure this to make sure this happens again, because otherwise it will never happen again. And that's the part of just like, oh, I did this was like a field. Someone sat down and wrote down all the business practices, SOPs, and industry standards. Like, this is not a guess. They're just doing the things that work.
I mean, yeah, but you don't think that there are any people, and I'm not talking about a large percentage. I'm talking about a small percentage of people who, and I'm trying to think of an example. Just, I don't know, anybody, like, even if, like, think about somebody made one hit record or something like that, or,
Right.
because to me, so I heard something, I was watching a show, and the guy was saying that once you make a hit record, then the system starts working for you. And so what it is, and this is to me what a lot of venture capitalism, with a lot of all of those private equity type of, well, not necessarily, maybe private equity too, but the point of it is that these are people who want to make money. They see you as an opportunity. You may not even know how to make money, but they know that they need new ideas, new things to make money with. So now they come to you and they say, hey, we know you're doing a thing. We see something with that thing. Let us do this, that, and the other. And you kind of get, the system works for you. You know what I'm saying? It's like Shark Tank almost in a sense.
And what's then? I mean, that is true. I mean, you can certainly become an employee. You can certainly become even a commodity, I guess. I don't know. Or a contractor, I should say. There are lots of ways people work with you when you have something that's valuable.
Right. So I mean, the easiest one is like if you got talent in the music business or something like that.
Right.
But I mean, just think about any of the small companies that get scooped up by bigger companies and get the payoff. You know, and I'm not saying that they don't know how to do anything, but a lot of people start small businesses just to get bought. This is the
Yeah.
plan. You know what I'm saying?
That is an intelligent plan that I really admire, where people know their wheelhouse and they stay there. Like, I'm really good taking a business from 10,000 to like 10 million. I can do that at first million or 10, and then I have to get out. So I will sell this, and I will make my business just doing that. I'm like, that's great. This person can scale, but only to a certain point. They know what they need to do, they know how it's been done, and they just go in there and they run the play. Done.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I mean, and then you get the leverage. People make it seem like it's a bad deal. Like it's as bad as you make it.
There you go.
You know,
You get to
if why would I want to recreate the wheel? It's just like it's like to me the Master P model of the record business. Because if you think about it like this, if I continue the same example, if you make the hit record, then the machine starts to work for you. But for some people, for the machine to work for them, they're like, okay, I'm gonna sign this record deal, this contract. But my thing is, really, the record companies, they are experts promoting and marketing music. Why can't I just pay them to do that for me? You know? And so
just not a good deal for them. But yes, like, it's not as good a deal than owning something outright. Like, they can do all the things you're offering them plus more. But yes, technically it'd be fine if they just did the one thing they're good at for you.
but here's the thing. 0%, well, some percent of profit is better than 0% of profit to me. Right. And it's like Uh, I'm trying to think. Just like having, it's not necessarily debt versus equity, but the point I'm making is just that the only reason somebody might deny you is because they can find another dummy, or not even a dummy, but just somebody who would take the deal.
Right.
But just because you don't take the deal doesn't mean that there's not money to be made with you. If you were to say, hey, nah, I don't want to sell you my stuff, I'll just, I will give you shares. Or not necessarily shares. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want to give you shares. I want to buy your services. I will pay this much money for your services. And then the thing about when you do that, these are guaranteed payments. So a lot of times, so when you think about shares, if nobody makes money, then you don't get paid. Right? Now, people might owe you, but who wants to be indebted, or who wants to have debt with a person who doesn't have any money? It's like, I don't get the money anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care if a whole bunch of people owe me money. If they don't make any money, I don't actually get the money. But if it's just like debt, it is kind of like debt versus equity. Because with debt, you're going to get your money. Well, you're supposed to get your money. And debt, people who own debt get paid first whenever stuff gets liquidated. Shareholders, you get paid last. And so to me, it's not to say that it's a better deal, it's just that it's a deal.
It is a deal. And for the people who have a model like that allows for company resources to be spent in doing the one-offs or licensing or any of the other kind of smaller projects, that's great. And everything there are deals like that work for certain size company.
Yeah. I mean, it keeps people, once again, it keeps people working, you know? So that's what I mean about the business mind too, because a lot of these people super sharp when they are quick on their feet to know, okay, what's the end profit for me? If I take these steps, what is the end profit? And then that's why deal structuring is it could get so complicated, especially in private sector, because there's a whole bunch of ways that we can negotiate. We can make a deal where I don't pay you this year, but I pay you next year, or you get the Bobby Bonilla deal where you get $1 million from the Mets for the rest of your life because you took a certain deal a long time ago, and this was baseball. I mean, it's just so many ways to just structure stuff. So, but you also that's the creative part about the business mind that I like, because some people get stuck in the wait, this is this and that is that and that doesn't equal this. Sometimes the business structure in mind, they say, well, I can take this and capitalize that and flip it and do this and then make it do that, and so I like that part about it. It's almost also, it reminds me of a story. Like I was like my old mentor. Um, we were talking about money one time, and so for me, I was telling him, I'm saying, whenever I get 0% financing, I take it. I mean, I was going to buy the thing anyway. So, but you're going to give me 0% financing. I'm taking that every single time because time value of money, I'm paying less for the thing because I'm not spending all of the money up front. And his argument, and mind you, we both work in finance. His argument is, yeah, I might take it, but I'm gonna pay it off early. And I'm like, why would you do that? And so he was like, well, I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to have that thing over my head. And I'm thinking, and not disrespectfully, I'm saying like, that's not really a business person's mentality.
Exactly.
Business person mentality is quick to collect, slow to pay. This is how this works. And so you just need to manage your money in a way that you can take advantage of not having to spend up as much of it in cash up front. This is not a good business move that you're making. You should take this all the way to the end and, and use up all of the 0% financing, period.
But people who say that, who I'm going to pay it off early, are the people who are not thinking in business terms. Like they're not thinking in asset terms. They're thinking in a very investor focused portrait order. Just like I am just going to use this leverage to to address a crisis, and then I'm going to move on. I'm like, oh, this is not an investment then. So I think you need to use the word investment. They're looking at debt as a problem to be solved instead of a tool to be used.
Right.
And when that happens, that lets you know that you're talking to a person who does not think that they're going to be making more money in the future. Like, oh, so you're just taking out debt and just going to live on savings? Oh, don't do that. I don't know why we even having this conversation. Don't know. That sounds terrible. You should definitely use this debt to like make a lot more money in the future so that and never pay it back as long as you don't have to.
Yeah.
But if you're not using this debt to like leverage it for a bigger asset, then like that's a guaranteed failure program. Don't sign up for that. Bad choice.
I mean, that's one aspect of it, right? But then there's just the whole other aspect of it, what they call float, right? It's just that I get to get the thing without paying for it, and I don't pay any interest on it. So you're floating me some money. This is a loan. This is a non-interest bearing loan.
Teacher's loan. It's true.
You know, I was going to buy it up front. I want the thing now, but this is why, because being financially literate and being financially responsible takes effort. This is the whole reason why well, not the whole reason why financiers make money, but people can't manage these processes. It's like a credit card. Hey,
Yes. Just
I
like that.
charge this thing up all month and pay it off, and you don't charge me any money. I will charge it up all month and increase my, I won't be using my money. And then
Exactly. I tell people that all the time. Like, I don't mind paying for anything with credit. Like, what if your data gets stolen? I'm like, well, then the credit card owes them a lot of money. That does sound like a bad thing for somebody. But for me, I get a whole month to use all my income correctly. I think it's great. Thank you.
right. And if I pay it off, I don't get any interest fees or interest charges. And I get good credit on the other end of it. Because I'm showing this history of charging and paying off bills.
Right.
So
exactly.
But what it is to me is that is it emotion? It's not emotion. People get a nervous feeling about debt and things like that. You know, they have certain ideas about money. Because a lot of people grow up with don't take out any debt.
Right.
And they don't really examine that idea. And they don't really understand that. I don't want to say it's a poor person's mentality.
I mean, but depending on who gave depending on who gave that advice, you can make the claim that this person is poorer than the people who are richest in the world, and the people who are the richest in the world use debt well. They leverage debt, and they're not worrying every day about being a slave to their credit cards.
Right. But I guess I'm showing a little empathy, I guess sympathy, empathy, whatever, for people who get nervous and just feel like, oh my gosh, I gotta pay this thing off because I don't know. It's well, who knows what could happen tomorrow?
Like, it better be you. You better have a plan for this money. I'm just like it.
Yeah.
But yes, I hear you. It's not just that they're afraid, and they're not just poor. Sometimes they're just not confident.
I mean, but the thing is, people don't really teach it. Like I had to learn this in school. This is literally because I can map it out literally with equations. It makes it easier for me to make these decisions because I understand the time value of money. I understand exactly what that means. It means that if if I give you, or what is it? If I give you $10 today, if you give me that $10 back next week, when I measure it by today's standard, that $10 is not $10.
Not anymore. Not the same value. It has gone down. Inflation exists.
Yeah, and it's more about the inflation exists, yes, and you don't get to use it. You don't get to use the resource for your own benefit. Somebody else has your resource, and so that's the thing. But
it's really important to do that. But that's cool that you went to school to learn these things. You actually learned it well enough to apply it to your own life. You see the real application on a day by day basis.
This is why I tell you, man, this is why I love financial concepts, because for me, they're actually concepts that you can live by. Now, people don't like that, But if you, and I know you and I have had conversations, we talk about value for value and trading and all of that stuff. So if you already have that premise and then you have financial concepts, you can understand and visualize exactly how it applies to almost everything in life.
Yes.
Especially when you're approaching it from a rational standpoint, people might think it's cold. It's not. It's just that no, I know exactly what I'm doing with my time. This is my value. These are the things that I'm trying to get. These are the things that I'm exchanging. Oh, this is not a benefit for me. I won't be doing that. This is a benefit for me. I will do that.
Well, yeah, they have more benefits than others. And I think that's the whole part. Everything is trade-offs. And now you have the data and the language to be able to measure the trade-offs and know what trade-offs are going know what you're getting in return. I think that's huge when it comes to people who are just guessing. They're like, this is so risky to me because I don't understand it. I'm like, well, let's quantify the risk and let's give you a real way to mitigate it. And let's let you know that doing nothing is also a decision and it's super risky. Of the things that we should be afraid of, we should be really afraid of doing the same thing in a changing environment. That is a recipe for failure. Do not do that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to drive only one way on the road. I'm just going to drive straight the whole time. That's cool, but this road has curves in it. So you really want to not the whole time.
I mean, that's true. But I guess in a sense, what is disappointing to me, and I don't think that there's a fix for it because I think it's just human nature. There are people who make no attempt to understand. And so that and they're adults. And so to me, as a kid, it's like, oh, you still got hope. You can learn that you need to learn things. But as an adult, if you're like 30, 40, 50, 60, and you haven't learned that you need to learn things,
Right.
it's kind of over. Like,
I mean, it's hard. Like, it's growth. Having a growth mindset requires you to actually try and retrain your brain, and that is a habit that takes a long time to bounce back from. So I don't pretend that it's easy, but I always give people the benefit of the doubt, saying like, if you put in the work today, it could work out for you. I've rarely found people who want to put in the work, but
no.
I always love I'm like, I changed, you can change too. Are you willing to put in the work? They're like, what work? That sounds hard. Yes, it's work. It is actually work. Going to have to do real thing to retrain your brain to be correct. Because you're wrong now. Right now, you're wrong. I don't like that. And how dare you? Who are you to think that so and so? So it's like, all right, we failed to have the beginning conversation. You won't even acknowledge that there's a problem that we are not. I, you're not clearly putting in the work to solve well. All right, and then you right yes. And then I go directly where you ended up like, and we're done here. This person will never get better. They're pretty much chosen to remain stuck. I can't do it for them, and they refuse to do it. All right. Yep.
Yeah. Because it becomes a self prep self. Dang, well, I can't say this word. Self. Oh man, what am I trying to say? self perpetuate. Oh gosh.
Creating kind of like a cycle, but like it's a
Yeah,
self-fulfilling.
exactly. Self
Yeah.
perpetuating. That's what it is. Self perpetuating cycle. Is because the thing that you're avoiding is the thing that's going to put you in the situation that you are avoiding. It's you 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 have a situation that you are going to experience fear because you don't know. Then you don't try to know. And then when it comes up again, you're going to experience that fear again. And it's going, and so now it becomes something else. Like, and people try to deal with life in basic terms a lot. And I mean, that's just kind of sad because they try to approach everything from it becomes, everything is about what I feel. This is what I felt happen. And I'm sure of it.
Right.
Just, I'm sure that
You
that
get
person hates me. I'm sure.
reasoning, and you are deviated from reality so much that you are making it hard for yourself.
It's sad because I've
Terrible. It never worked.
I've seen people who I'm like, but you're intelligent. You could get this, and they're like, no, this frightens me, and I don't want to try to learn it, and I don't.
There you go. But fear, though, I have fear inside, and I don't like how that feels, and so I'm not going to do anything more than this. Like, oh, that's a recipe to stay here. You stay here, you're not going to win. You're going
Yeah,
to have this problem tomorrow. What are you going to do tomorrow? Same thing.
And then it becomes, because I remember I had this conversation with a friend of mine about record companies and record label contracts and things. And it becomes, oh man, I signed this contract and they took advantage of me. And I'm thinking, did you think that they were going to do everything for you for free? Is is that, is that like you didn't want to read the stuff and they read it for you? And
You
so
came to this quote unquote battle and you asked the enemy to just go ahead and give you a pass. And then you were like, it didn't go very well. Well, no, they were in it for them, and you were to be in it for you. They weren't going to fight both sides of the battle. One of y'all was going to have to do your job. That
right,
person was you.
right. And I kind of don't even like the idea of characterizing it as the enemy, because this to me is the whole idea of capitalism needs rational people. And if you're
Yes.
not going to make decisions, don't get mad at the other person who did.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. You abdicate your responsibility. Don't be surprised that nothing happened. Like the good things I wanted didn't happen. Oh, did you do them? No, I did not.
Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised that they did what they needed to do for them. That's what that's what it was.
Yeah. Oh, true. Like,
But
nothing happened. You just didn't do your job. You don't like this part. Do your job.
that's the thing, man. People don't know it's their job to make
There you go.
decisions.
And they're not even willing to listen. They're not even willing to have that conversation of, I wonder what I did to get myself in this situation. What agency do I have? They're like, no, other people are magic. They have things I don't have, and therefore I had no chance. The world is unfair. Like,
Mm,
I mean, the world is not equal. I'll tell you, I'll agree with that. That's not what we're talking about, is
right. No. I mean, yeah. It's but so I'm gonna kind of switch gears. I don't know why this popped up in my mind real quick. But I caught a clip from Barack Obama. I guess I follow him on Instagram or something. And he was saying that he goes to mentor young kids. And he's like, one of the things that he tells these young kids is when you go into these rooms with these people and they look all fancy and everything, don't let them think that you don't belong, because when you start to talk to them, they're just like anybody else, they're not all that. And I'm thinking, why is that the message? Because I don't, and I'm gonna ask you your opinion. It's just that I think the reason why I thought of this is just that instead of, listening and learning and trying to, or giving advice to how to think and how to make decisions or how to maneuver the conversation or things like that, you center in on trying to control people's feelings about you. And that is a wild approach to me. Like, first of all, how do you make somebody not think or think? How do you not let someone think that you belong? Is that possible? Do you have control over that? I guess that's my question.
right. I mean, you don't have absolute control over it, but we all influence each other, and so we have the ability to persuade. So I'll make that a starting point. But I would say, like, I would not. I don't think the way I interpret it. We'll say the way I interpret that statement that Obama would say. Like, I interpret that as Obama trying to encourage kids, don't be overly irrational. Don't walk into a place where people look different than you and become overwhelmed by thinking these people are so different than you that they're not human, that they are not going through similar experiences that you went through and that you can't get there. Don't be so overawed with everyone around you that you get into a point where you put more emphasis on their opinion than is helpful or reasonable or whatever. Like, that's how I would interpret what he's saying. And so, like, you cannot control everybody's thoughts around you, but you can influence it with your behavior, your thoughts, your persuasive and such. And that's a presence issue, and that's something that can be learned, and that's cool. But also, other things to help people, it's really helpful to focus on the things they have the most control over and focus on their competence. Like, be worthy enough to stand in the room so that when you get into a situation where other people have the opportunity to look down on you, you can always recall the facts that got you there. And that's a much more powerful, solid, rational position to stand in than just believe in yourself and you got this and you'll be okay. It's like, no, do the right things, have the evidence, remember the evidence, use the evidence in your conversation. make that the thing that you stand on, so that when other people try to, use some other stereotypes or societal perceptions, you could combat that with clarity about the evidence. Like, this is actually a thing that matters. You're here for this reason. I'm here for this reason. And this is my evidence. This is my value add that I've done, that I'm going to do, that I'm here for, and that I'm going to consistently do for you, or you're going to do for me, or whatever we're talking about. Like, I think that's a different mindset that allows a lot more freedom.
Okay. I mean, if I would have probably have given him the benefit of the doubt, I might have gotten there. And it's not that I don't necessarily doubt. I think to me, it's the approach. It's just the approach that I don't like, because the approach is the assumption that you're trying to approach the result instead of the cause. That's
Right.
how I look at it.
Right. I think my understanding, when I hear someone say, like, when you walk into a room, don't be afraid of these people. I'm like, so you're telling me that you walked through when you felt afraid of some people sometime. All right. I hear you. That is a personal experience you are relating to me as advice, by assuming, like, or by projecting that we are the same, which is, nice to think of, but not true. But if I can get around that inefficiency, at least I can say, all right, the part I can pull from this is that this is what you learned, that these people that you were so overawed with at the beginning were just people, and that by treating them that way, you were able to navigate the situation well enough to get you a better result, which is great. If I want a better result, I now know that this is something that worked. It may not work perfectly. There may be other confounding factors, but what worked for you was coming in with confidence and staying there with competence, and that is a good story.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I totally get it, and I understand how other people would get it, and I understand what you're explaining. I think what I would push for is not to do that. The reason why,
Right.
because it's so.
Say it.
The thing is, like I said before, you're trying to approach the conversation from the result, not the cause, and also even the idea that he threw in here, like they're not all that. Why do I have to diminish other people to
There you go.
you
Right?
know?
Why even do that? That's terrible.
And so I want to try to build people up to be equals, not
Yeah.
tear them down to be equals,
Right.
you know? And I don't necessarily think that that was his intention in saying it, but there are a lot of things that come about from people approaching situations in a, I don't want to say inaccurate, but a vague way. It's because I understand that most people don't want to be don't need, or don't think about being super accurate about what they're saying,
Right.
philosophically sound about everything. But that's what, to me, the teachers are for. That's what the leaders, the intellectual leaders, that's what they are for, to help us adopt certain principles into our lifestyle that are accurate and that we can execute on, you know?
Yeah, we don't have to start with accuracy. We don't have to be 100% accurate in everything we say at every time, because people already know the lessons in the beginning. But you have to at least teach them the lessons in the beginning. We,
Yeah.
we seem to forget that part, or we just skip over it, and we're like, it'll be fine if they just have a general understanding of it. I'm like, I mean, we can get to a general understanding, but we need a real specific, clear example first. And we can build off of that to say, like, oh, by the way, there are some things that are similar to this, but nothing is a terrible, terrible place. They have nothing to refer to. Then we can't start with that imprecise generality. I'm just like, it's really hard now.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess, what am I trying to say with that? It's that when people aren't precise, I understand. I get it. I'm kind of repeating what you just said. It's not about trying to be precise all the time, but when people explain things to you in a way, it helps you incorporate this approach into your life. And that's what I mean about, this is why I'm talking about like leaders and leadership and intellectual leaders, because to many people, Barack Obama is an intellectual leader, right? Now, I'm not saying he's a dummy, but I would not necessarily say that he's an intellectual leader. You know, I would say that the people who I think are intellectual leaders, I probably don't even know them that much, Because to me, that what I'm saying, and I'm thinking about the people who you don't get to see, who actually come up with ideas, who implement ideas, who embed ideas in society, you know, philosophers and probably professors and things like that. Huh?
Academic.
Yeah. And I don't think you have to see them, but somehow their message gets transmitted into the group, the populace, and maybe through the universities. Maybe that's what it is.
They are the reference books that people are using to teach. Like it's like when other people are like, "This is my thought." I'm like, "That thought is built on somebody else who did the research." The
Right,
people who do the research were the ones that we're referring to. They're the ones that be like intellectuals. I'm smart. I'm not saying I'm not grouping all smart people as intellectuals. There are
right,
some people who generated the data. Those people are the ones who had the ideas.
right,
Those are the ones.
right, exactly. And because for me, there are a lot of I mean, intelligence is one of those things that I would like to actually understand what I think about that more, because there are people who I wouldn't necessarily like. Intelligence is just a tricky thing to me. It's just
I it it's tricky without context. You have to really bring it into the clarity of mind of what a cognitive skill that someone is doing to demonstrate the intelligence that we approve of. Like I heard ENTJ talk about intelligence as like your rate of learning, and your rate of learning is how quickly you change to a different how quickly your behavior changes to the same stimuli. And I'm like, I hear you. I mean, for skills, that's true, but there are some cognitive skills that are different, and so I can't say like, oh, if I throw a ball at your head and hit you in the head the first time, and I throw a ball at your head a second time, and you move, I'm like, oh, you're really fast. You must be a smart person. You have a high rate of intelligence, because high rate of speak, high rate of learning. But if I keep throwing the ball at your head and it keeps hitting your head and you just can't get out of the way, you keep backing up, then I know you're dumb. You're a dumb person. I'm like, in a sense, some of that is true. I'm like, okay, you are less intelligent, at least skills wise, habits wise, whatever, than the person who moved immediately. But for like cognitive skills, I'm like, it doesn't work that way. I, there are people who remember things better, and that's a element of intelligence that you need. There are people who make better associations that are grounded in reality, and that's just that.
right,
That's a cognitive skill that you need. There are people that can process the things you say, analyze it into whatever its base form is, and compare that with enough examples to elicit a principle, generate a principle, and tell it to you back in simple terms in like seconds. And I'm like, that is also a cognitive skill. That is different. And I'm
right,
like, I would consider those people intelligent. Those people have not just the ability to problem solve. They can problem solve quickly and faster than a lot of people. Most people, even me. So I'm like,
right.
I wouldn't consider that person an idiot. I would just say they have a different skill set. But like if you combine some of the most relevant skill sets in problem solving between memory, association, conceptualization, and application, I'm like, all right, those things should constitute enough skills to be intelligent. But
I,
I also would love a better way to quantify that and then say like you learn at this rate versus this rate.
I mean, I think the thing that's going to throw me off personally is that, just using your example, a person saying how quickly you adapt to the stimuli. And that to me sounds like adapting to the object, right?
Right.
And so the two types of intelligence that I recognize, there are people who adapt to the object, but to me, this doesn't necessarily, carry wisdom with it. Be- Because at the end of the day, I'm not just adapting to the object for the object's sake. Like, for me, if you are intelligent and you lose track that it's all for a person, it's all for a life, then to me, I don't know what to call that, but it's less intelligent than what I would hold at the highest intelligence, you know. And that's because you don't understand the source of, or the purpose of, all of the things that you're doing. A lot of people just get into these, they go out and they start doing things, and they don't track it all the way back to, no, this is about building a life. This is all of what it's about. And so, to me, if you lose track of that, I don't care how good you are, whatever things you do out there, you don't actually know what it's for. You're just doing
Right.
stuff.
Like you have skills now, but you don't have comprehension or understanding. And those are very different. And that is a helpful distinction for me, that when someone points out, I'm looking for skill, looking up for how fast you can adjust to a physical object. And I'm like, okay, that is a skills issue. And you identify someone who's good or has a highly developed skills. That's excellent. I will go to them if I have a question on the skill. Like, how do I apply this? How do I do this thing this way?
Right.
You've done this thing this way well, perfect. But if I want to know why you do this thing this way, I don't ask that person, because if they get stuck at the skill level, I and that they can't help me. I have to go to the intellectuals, the person who spent that time doing the reflection of, like, this is what we're doing, and this is why, and this is the context we're doing it in. I'm like, oh, well, that is the understanding I need. I need comprehension first for you to give me that clarity, the whole context, so I have some some basis to hang all these facts.
Yeah. But I agree. The thing is, the different types that you just mentioned, they just pop out so quickly to me. Because I'm thinking of people who never tie it back to the source, you
Never.
know?
It
And
never had entered their mind that they could even find that out.
yeah, but they still could be brilliant in my eyes, right?
Right.
But still, you're not as intelligent as to me. And maybe part of me is just trying to see if I'm using the right word, or maybe I don't know what is it rational? Is it wise? Is it intelligent? I don't know what the word is. I'm just kind of working through it right now. But all I know is for me, and most people won't even recognize this, if you can't tie it back to the source, I don't really want to hear about how smart you are. I don't want to hear about it. You have skills, like you said, you have skills, you can do a thing, but you don't have a fully thought out framework that starts from self to thing and back. So that's what I think. And we kind of started with the Obama the statement. And I guess to sum up what I'm saying is that the majority of people can't do that. And I want to, and the people who are intellectuals in the society aren't preaching that. So
They don't
how
value
do we
those things,
get there?
right? It's not always it's not on a lot of people's list of things to invest in, value, or really, I don't say honor. That's the wrong word I want to say. But it's that general concept that there are certain things people really care about, and there are certain ways people look at this whole idea of. I'm trying not to say TI, but I'm trying to find another way to describe the fact that you can analyze something to understand, analyze and reflect in order to reach a level of clarity about an issue that is, like, I think that whole process is worthwhile in a way that is not always fully appreciated by others.
Yeah, for one, it's quicker to do the other way because you can just adjust. That's the terminology that's used in psychology: adjustment versus adaptation. You just adjust to each different situation, but it's not what Jung talks about is full adaptation. It's like everything in life is. I'm trying to recall the exact words he used. Every lesson in life is meant to make it into a, a full lesson, I guess, or a rule for a person. And some people just aren't doing it because that's where you get the disconnected bits. That's where you get the incongruity hit. That's what you get the extroversion. It's and contradictions because they aren't building a full framework. What he was saying, he was talking about. What was he talking about? I think this was Schiller. I think it was Schiller, and he was just like, yeah, every lesson you learn, it's almost combining memory and putting together full framework. And he's just like, well, some other people, they just everywhere they go, they just adapt or adjust to that situation. It doesn't mean it. And if you give them and that's their skill to adjust to different situations. But they don't
Yeah.
have anything that's full adaptation. Like if everything changes right now, they're lost. It's they gotta all they can do is just adjust to whatever is there, but they don't have any like long term, fully thought out framework. And one of the other things, I don't know if you've ever read Prometheus and Epimetheus, and he was just saying like these are two different ways of looking at the world. I think it's a poem.
Right.
These are poems or stories or something. I can't turn on my camera, man. I think I didn't want to cut off the convo, but I can't even click my camera back.
Okay. Why not? Are you good?
No, I'm good, man. I just want to let you know because I want to cut it back on, but I can't. But yeah, that to me is just it's a different. You say people don't appreciate it, and I get it. And you know what? I'm at the point I don't think that they have to appreciate it.
I don't. But is what I appreciate and is what I mean when I say this person is intelligent. I'm like, this person's rate of learning is high. They have found that they can analyze a problem, understand the principle behind it, generate a new principle, apply that principle in such a way that to solve this new problem. They do that consistently enough to where I'm like, oh, that's a useful skill. This is a useful cognitive skill. They are not physically capable of doing everything. They are cognitively able to understand complex issues quickly. And that's great. That's all. That is something I need when I'm asking them to solve a problem. When it comes to brainstorming, when it comes to even bringing up issues like, oh, this is a problem for me. I want people who are able to take that problem, understand it, break it down, find the principle, apply a new principle, and then say, have you thought of this? I want to tell them no. I want to tell them I haven't. Thank you. Thank you for coming up with something else, a different, more effective framework. I don't want them to say, hey, I solved this problem. It's fixed now in my life. Like, what? I believe you. I've got a whole life though to live. How am I gonna solve this problem?
Yeah.
You can't live for me. How am I gonna do it?
But here's the other thing, though, for me. I have never seen a good and fast philosopher.
Well, right. Unless they spend time thinking about it beforehand. Yeah. On the spot, it's not usually their best thinking.
Unless they're either discussing it and going through it with you, or they've already thought about it and they're like, oh yeah, I solved that problem already. But I haven't seen anybody say, a good philosopher to say, hey, here's a new problem that you never heard of, and they just like, first of all, I will hope if you're a philosopher, maybe you got some age to you. And so the more fundamental principles that you operate with, it allows you to, because they're tools, it allows you to solve a problem that may seem like a new problem, but it's like, oh, this is not really a new problem. I'm just going to use these tools that we've refined over time to dissect this problem, and I'm teaching you how that you can use these tools to dissect that problem instead of actually solving a new problem, where
Right. Like we could all keep coming up with new applications to like, a similar principle. But like if you could just tell us the principle, that'd be great.
yeah. So yeah, the whole, I know you got here after bring up the whole Obama thing, but it didn't bother me. It's just, once again, we have leaders in society, and I look at these leaders and I'm thinking, okay, what are you teaching? What are your methods? How are you leading? And I don't know, man. It's a struggle for me. I'm looking for, not necessarily to lead me. I'm just trying to figure out, what are the new generations of people? Who can they look to? What can they look to? What messages are being given to them? And they may get a lot of to-dos. Hey, if you want to make money, this is what you do. You do it like this. You go like this. You get a job like this. But it's not a lot of wisdom. I guess that would be the word that I'm thinking about, because it's not long range. It's very practical and pragmatic, expedient. It's not how you build a life all the time. It's not like that to me.
Not a lot of strategy. It's very sad because you're going to need that strategy later on, probably in the beginning too.
I mean, yeah, but when it comes to and I think Rand said this in something, and I think Young talked about it too. It's like, some people grow up, well, mature early, but then later on in life, they're like, I don't know who I am. You know?
Yes, they are. You're like, oh, did you do any reflection or thinking about thinking to find who you are and identify that?
Nope.
What is it? What does an identity even consist of? Like, I don't even know. That is clear. Yes, agreed. Why would you think you knew who you were then if you don't even know what identity consists of? You don't even know what to look for. How do you think you found it? Come on, man.
Nah, so busy doing other things. It's so busy going outside and going out and trying to find it out there. And I mean, I don't know how you bring up that conversation without. I mean, because think about like kids.
It is too hard to have this conversation and be kind or gentle. Like it is only way I've ever found even like broach the topic is to tell people about my journey. That's it. I can only tell them a story and let them relate because it's too hard to point out. Like, all the things you're complaining of would be solved if you just solved this one problem in your life. You're really getting hung up right over here.
Mm.
So I'm like, I was hung up over here, and I thought that was a problem. So I tried to solve it this way. These people have said these things in these books, and I found that applied to me. I'm like, look at this. I don't know who I am. I don't know that identity consists of, my strengths, my weaknesses, my actual beliefs, rules, or principles, and then like these long range goals I'm striving towards. I didn't realize that it would be helpful to find people who were better at things that I was bad at and then work with them in a complementary type of environment that actually would lead to us both reaching these mutual goals that we said we had. I didn't even realize we should talk about shared values and goals. I was just out here winging it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's like almost the majority, though. That's
Yeah. I don't know anyone who's doing anything else. I'm like, oh,
I mean,
that's not working out for any of us.
no, not at all. This is why there are people who don't really. There is no meaning. The only meaning is just it's not even temporal. It's by accident. It's just like they're not really thinking about it. This is why you got people who don't see themselves living past teenagers and 20 years old and stuff like that.
Yeah. Just live on the expediency of the moment and just try to apply whatever tactics they find. I'm like, oh, this doesn't work out well long term. I'm not thinking long term. That
Ah,
is my point. That's the point.
I mean, it's just
Correct.
the people. Do you? But the types of people who be like, "Oh, I don't even believe in love anymore," or "Why would you get married?" Or, and I'm not saying that nobody has to get married, or I'm not saying that anybody should have to get married. Or, I mean, I don't think that. Okay, if you don't believe in love, I think that's kind of a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may not want to get married, but I think the idea of love is like a necessary thing to have a fulfilling life. I'm not, you could love your dog. Well, you could love your dog, you could love person, you could love the thing that you do for work, but you should love something. That's how I look at it. It's not a fulfilling life. Huh?
Like, how would you find love?
I would steal Ryan's definition. Love is what is it? Love is the feeling of achieving value. What is that? I'll read it straight out of the book because I quoted
Right.
it.
Response to values.
Yep, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Nice.
Love is a response to value. So that's one to me. Is that a principle? No, it's more. I guess it's a definition, but that's helpful for me to just have that definition and say, "Oh, love is a response to values," and I think it's. So I guess value is the more difficult thing to track down to define. It's such a broad concept, but yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, well, what is the purpose of what are you doing here if you're not doing these? I mean, I guess you could go evil. I actually appreciate a person that goes full out evil. It's like at least you got integrity. You know who you are.
I fully appreciate. I know where you're going. I know why you're here. I know what you're gonna do. All right. Now that we can predict this, we can have a much better relationship. I'm gonna avoid you. You
Hey,
are kept
it's the halfway people that kill me. Is
right. Like, I'd never do this. Like, but you are doing this. That is my likes. I want you to stop this. Ruining my life.
Yeah. Oh man. Hey, what's I caught something running through like videos. I don't know. It's I guess for me like my feed, Instagram feed. I'm kind of like looking at some speakers or whatever. I think it's this guy. What is his name? Maxie. John Maxie. You ever heard of this guy?
I don't think so.
He's got some good points. I think he's a religious person though, but he's got some good points. I think that's his name.
What kind of things was he talking about?
No, just he talks about leadership. I mean, everybody likes to talk about leadership. Seems like to me
Well,
these
you
days.
seem like either are doing it. You seem like you're uh making sure you can curate a lot of good people there for that. That's excellent.
You said what again?
Seems like you're curating a lot of great leadership people to come into your feed.
Oh, I mean, I just try to find. I mean, I'm always looking for something interesting. That's really what it is to me. The thing, like even my wife, she'll tell me she'll look at me, watch a lot of random stuff on YouTube, and she's like, "Well, why are you watching this?" And for me, it's like watching people. It gives me an idea of helps me keep my finger on the pulse of things, right? That what's popular or what do you see a lot of? It gives you an idea of the way people are thinking, the way the culture is moving. And to me, if you see a void, if nobody's really saying anything that means anything, it's like, oh wow, why is this so difficult for me to find something of substance? You know what I'm saying? That it'd be one thing if I were to say, okay, well, I find it here and there. No, I'm actively looking for it and I really can't find it. That's why is that happening?
Why? Yes. This is something that
why
we
is
say.
it everything on my feed? Like I can find it's a rapper that's been killed or somebody that's some old gangster. That it's just constantly through my feed. You know, I'm seeing that all the time. Got a lot of police videos in my feed. And it's maybe that's a strategy or something. Like how could all of this stuff be? Why is it so abundant? You know what I'm saying? It's I don't know, man. There is man. What am I trying to say? I don't know if I guess if you would ever see my YouTube feed and you would check out some of the stuff that I see, especially when it comes to like music and rap and stuff like that. It's like, wait, this is not good at all. Like y'all keep getting shot a lot. Y'all shoot and get shot a whole lot, and you made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Why are you continuing to do this? Why is this happening? You know,
Continue to happen. Right.
I don't understand. Like even with the little Dirk thing or Lil Dirk or whatever. Like I don't know if you've heard it. Just I mean, do you know you heard of Lil Durk before, right? Or no?
I don't think so.
Okay, Chicago rap. So I don't really know much about the dude. Basically, I just know it was a rapper, Chicago dudes, and then he had a dude that he brought up with him, King Von, that got killed in Atlanta, and then it was somebody that was with another rapper, and then supposedly, allegedly, the guy that was with the rapper that the guy was with, he got them shot at in LA. And basically, it seemed like he about to go to jail forever, but he was on top of the world. He was millionaire rapper, very successful, and it seemed like he gonna go to jail forever because he orchestrated a murder with receipts, allegedly. And so, but this is not new or it's all and it's not really uncommon. Like some of the stuff, if you ever get a chance, you probably don't want to, but if you ever want to check out some crazy stuff, check out some of the Jacksonville rappers. I think I said this before. Like they just wild on it. Like they literally kill people and they make videos about it. This is what they do. This is, like, and I find that to be amazing. Like the internet, I don't know if it's an internet thing. Like I don't think it would have happened on TV. I think maybe you can only do this on internet. I'm not sure, but it's just it's a weird thing to me, man. Like I can't really put my finger on it. Well, the weird part to me is that okay, I see people and you grew up a certain way, and so you never really put a value on life. And so even when you made money, doesn't mean that you put value on life. You just made money and still didn't value life. But the really interesting thing to me is your fans, because
They still tolerating this.
yeah,
They
exactly.
the fact that making bad choices.
Right. And so they keep you rich, but they're like halfways. They're hybrids because all of them aren't living this wild culture, but they still have, at some level, they still have that premise, right? And so that's the thing that blows my mind. You say what?
Right. Yeah, they definitely agree with some parts of it. Everybody likes agency, money, and the good things that come along with being on top.
Yeah, that part. But I don't think that that's what it like. The money piece goes on both sides. It doesn't. I don't think it has any loyalty to good or bad. Money is just money.
There you go. Just a tool.
Yeah, but the whole thing is that no, it's something more than the agency and the money piece. You have the what's the not the benevolent premise, the malevolent premise or whatever. In a sense, it's the nothing. That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. It's the nothing. And so therefore, I mean, this is something I don't even think I said this before. Like, it's just there's a crowd full of degenerates looking at the stage like, hey, that's a degenerate that made it. I can be a degenerate that made it too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So sad. He speaks for us. No, he doesn't. For him. And the only reason he speaks for him because you give him money. Stop doing.
All
Stop it.
right. But it's a perpetual cycle. But that's the thing. You start to that it becomes an idol in a sense, right? And so therefore, I can't be, or this person reminds me of what I could be. And the thing about it is, people when they see money, they automatically tie money to success. When I don't automatically tie money to success, it's
I mean,
not
but for some people, that's what they define it as. That's how they define success. And when you're in poverty, I can imagine, I can understand how framing success as is like having more money than you have currently. I'm like, okay, that is one element of like that is one goal that you want to be successful with. Cool. Yes. But it's tied when people get stuck there or stop there. I'm like, what about the rest of life though? What are you gonna use? Money is just a tool. And it's cool when you can use the tool to keep you alive. That's good. But you shouldn't stop at the keeping you alive. What else could you use the money for?
right. Yes. But I guess when you say that, the first thing my mind goes to is that's not really like, yes, I would love to make money. I like to pursue making money. I don't think that everybody who didn't make money thought that they were unsuccessful in history. I just
I hear
don't.
you. This
I,
way, just
there are
now.
people, there are families. Like when I hear people say, man, we grew up poor, but I didn't even know we were poor. We had blah, blah, blah. Like, especially when pre 60s or pre 50s, right? Where people were making families and communities and like the money wasn't the end all be all thing.
Not at all.
It was you still had a family. I mean, well, let's just I understand the poor piece that you're saying, and I get that. Yes, you want to not be in poverty, but more money does not equal better life. That's not the equation that works.
Not at all. But
But
if you've
people
never
try to
had it,
pretend.
and you have it now, that is that is a that is a that is frequently what people associate with it. You're 100% right. Money itself is just a tool. It doesn't give you automatically a better life. That is a false association.
And so and I think we have examples of people who look like they had a pretty good life to me. And like I said, pre 60s or pre 70s, pre 60s. Not saying that, I'm not one of these people who are like, oh man, poverty is where the authentic,
Authenticity.
oh yeah, authenticity of life is. I'm not like one of those people. I think being financially successful is a good thing. Doing, making money is a good thing. But once again, you're not tying it back to happiness or, a life, So if you're making money without tying it back to the things that you're going to do with the money to have a better life with the money, then this really what's the point? What are we talking about here? So that's the crazy, and I hate the idea that a lot of people nowadays think they try to boil every conversation in society down to this person didn't have money, and if they had money, they would do this. That's not true at all.
Not even close. Not even similar.
Hey, they would if they grew up with money, they wouldn't have thought to do this and do that. What? It's a lie. That's what kills me about it. And then you get other people just thinking like, well, the worker has to think like this, and they start to get the Marxism and the communist mentality, and start talking that worker nonsense and all of these excuses why we just need a little bit more money to have a better mindset. And if they do get money, then they need a little bit more money because they don't have as much money as their white counterparts or their other counterparts. And now something's been done to them because they don't have the same. I saw, and it's not, man, I don't necessarily want to jump, but I saw a story yesterday where, in DC, they say this is, well, it's not DC, right outside of DC is PG County, supposedly the richest black county in the country. Right. People were saying that our houses are undervalued. They're deliberately undervaluing our houses because we live in a black area. And then I'm wound up thinking, is anybody buying the house for more? If they bought the house for more, then it wouldn't be undervalued. And so they try to break it down. It's like appraisers have all the power, and they have the power to mark your house down, even though you spent the same amount of money as somebody else in another neighborhood. When did that become the criteria for value? Like, when did that even happen? I don't even understand that. So it's just, to me, like it's sad because people have all these excuses, everything besides compete. The best strategy for anybody. You want to increase the value of your place, change the culture. And I'm not saying that these people, the story I'm talking about is not, I'm not saying that they actually had a bad culture. I don't know nothing about that neighborhood. But for some places, if you change the culture, you actually could, without buying anything, you could actually increase the value of your surroundings, of your community, if you just change the culture.
Right. And also, if value is relative, and because people want certain things, like people typically talk about these values their houses are being undervalued in relation to people or other homes or other places in the city
Right.
that like who are that they would rather be, or that they would rather that they could even their houses have the same square footage as another house somewhere else in the city that is being valued differently. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. You know what would be really cool? Talk to the person who can value your house correctly. You don't like these appraisers, you don't like these banks that are valuing your house so low. Find the appraisers who are actively, or the banks even, who are actively looking for high quality places and use those as your coverage. You do not have to be stuck with your local banks. Like, I get it that your houses are with those banks, but there are other lenders in the world. Please work on that. And if our goal is to fix this on a bigger level, then if these people are as rich as you say in this PG County, that I'm sure we can have a few of y'all get together and form your own local conglomerates and banks to kind of support each other. There are so many ways to solve this problem if you wanted to make a feasible difference, like a long-term difference.
I mean, but so I'll bring in another part. It's not part of the story, but part of my knowledge about PG County, because my mentor is lived in PG County. I guess he grew up in PG County in a sense. And he's like, yeah, they got money, but it's different. I'm just taking not his words. It's like, it's a different culture. It's not like with other rich places. Like, you go other rich places and they got, I wouldn't even call PG County rich. It's certain areas of it, yes. Black, rich, whatever. But it's like, you don't get the same things in rich PG County as you would get in rich this other county, right? It's like, the culture has you see the culture. You see some of the lack in the culture, Right. And it's it's a thing, man. It's people. I don't even know. I can't necessarily characterize it because I think I would overgeneralize in a sense. It's just for me. It comes off as people who are trying to compete and be like another group of people instead of trying to achieve a thing. Like, no, we're trying to achieve life and we want to go this way instead of, hey, these people have these houses, we're gonna go get those houses. These people have these cars, we're gonna go get those cars. We're gonna go get, and it's still a level of overgeneralization, but that's kind of like that's the feel that I got from what he was bringing up. That's me speaking on a situation, me not living, ever been living there myself, and not really being around there that much myself. I know a few people from there and everything, but from his words, it's just like, yo, it's still cultural, something cultural there that's missing. That's lacking.
Right.
That's from his words. It's money, but it ain't resources. It ain't community, like building up stuff like that. It's like it's almost like drain. Like money then drained, and money then drained is in that sense. So
I hear you. Crazy.
So I hate to mischaracterize it, but it's just, to me, it's got to be addressed a little bit. So
I mean, it's worthwhile. If people really are this concerned about it, then there definitely are better options they could do to make things more convenient for themselves. Like if they realize there's a problem, realize that they're not getting taken as seriously as they would like, then it'd be interesting to see what options are available to make sure that happens.
I mean, but one of the things that the woman said, she was like, "Well, we came here specifically because we wanted to take part in a black community." And I'm like, "Well, this has a value, and you paid for that." You know, that's so. But they're the people. The same house over there is, I don't know, 15% more than this house. And then as they were going through the story, they were like, "Well, there's a bunch of different factors that go into a blank, blank, blank location, blank." I'm like, location, yes, you do know that this is a part of the factors. You know, I don't know. I mean, you could get, if you build a mansion in the middle of nowhere, it's like nobody paying $50 million for this mansion.
You can't get the same payment in the middle of nowhere as you can in the middle of Los Angeles. It does matter where
Hey,
you are. But
gotta
I
buy.
understand. Like, hey, I could get more. I think I should get more. I think our community is worth more. I'm like, well, great. You need to find more buyers like you, and
Right.
those people will also have a similar response, and then you will be able to be appreciated for more. Like you will get your house appraised for more, and then you can make a argument and a more robust deal if that's what you want. Great, find the people
Yeah.
who want what you want, but don't be mad at everybody else for not wanting what you want. That's not going to help anybody. Mostly you, but it's not going to help.
I mean, the thing for me is that that's what the market is. The market is here to tell you, like, look, like, because to me, I don't care what, it doesn't matter what an appraiser really say. Here's to me,
I
and
mean,
this, I could
if
be
it's a
wrong.
bank appraiser, then I understand what they're like. Hey, the bank appraised the house over there where they liked it harder than they did over here. I'm like, I hear you. That's probably true. Racism exists and there are biases in the world. But even if there are, your solution remains the same. You need
Hmm.
to find a buyer who agrees with you if you want to sell this in a way that makes you happier, meaning that gets you a higher return.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's some complications with that. So, like, if the person is using bank funds to buy a house, when you get an appraisal, like, if it's not aligned, then they won't issue the loan.
Right.
But the whole thing is that if somebody want to buy it, if they just wanted to buy it and they really wanted it, they would buy it. That's how that works. So doesn't matter what somebody could say. Oh, put this beyond appraisal price. And why would somebody who wants to buy it for much higher than the appraisal price? Because somebody else wants to buy it for less than that, or other people want to buy it for less than that, and somehow the price went up. And so, to me, the appraisal, I get that it's a factor, but when people want to buy this thing, the appraisal really doesn't matter because people want to buy this thing. That's how I look at it. You know.
I hear you. Yeah. And there are things people can do to forcibly appreciate the house. I mean, there are ways they can find other people who want to buy this and get them bidding in a bidding war and all the rest of these things to effectively make it. And of course, always put things in the house that other people want. I mean,
Right.
there are other ways to help get their needs met. But what doesn't work is to call attention to the people that they are quote unquote working with and being like, I don't like their preferences. Their preferences and my preferences are different, and therefore they're wrong. I mean, we can always pretend that it matters what you think, but I don't think that's going to work out for anybody. It's never worked out in the past. Please don't depend on this. But I hear you. Yeah. If things could be different, they could be.
Yeah, man. But you know me, I just have an issue with the excuses. And for this one person, you built the house. And she's like, the house is worth less than what we spent on building it. And I'm like, this is something that you should have kind of figured out before you built the house. That sounds like that to me. So I don't know. Good to see. My bad. Yeah, man. But no, that's
You got Halloween stuff?
this is my wife's friend. She came home early tonight, so I'll probably just take it down in a second. I needed to get some. You do Halloween? Oh,
No, I probably can avoid it. I'll do my best to stay all the way out. But if I
okay.
have it, I'll dress up as myself. I'll try to avoid as I'm the laziest person. Shoot.
Oh man, yeah. I haven't done it since I was a kid. I don't. It's been a long time. I wanted to dress up, but I just couldn't find what I wanted. So, but nah, it's pretty much. I think, man. So I had this idea. I don't know how I'm gonna execute it, and I don't know if I have the time to execute it. But I'm trying to at some point in time because I got other things happening too. Kind of like lay out some kind of maybe a discussion point or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes, and also I want to try to not get into the philosophy, politics, whatever all the time because that's where I always land. I can't help it. It's just always goes there. But I was just thinking about this idea of like, how we always talk about, if you don't teach kids, what do you think they're going to be? Like why y'all think this is something strange? And somehow I got on this idea about, like, well, what's the difference between dogs and wolves? And because people, it's like, well, dogs are just domesticated wolves.
Right.
So if that works in the canine lane, why do you all think that we're not raising wolves? We're not domesticating and civilizing these humans. Why don't you think that they would turn into wolves? That's, so this is my idea.
Yeah, or at least wild dogs. That's a good point. I like that. That's the idea that maturity has to be cultivated and curated as far as what we feed them. That makes a lot of good sense to start using that as the model. It's like, hey, if we care about how our dogs turn out and we care enough to invest time, energy, and effort to cultivate their experiences and to train them so that they can turn out into a beneficial member of our group and community, wouldn't it be even more important to do this for children and those we say we love? Shouldn't the idea of freedom apply differently in the sense of we want them to have as many choices, so we train them to be able to give them that ability to make those choices instead of leaving them on their own so that they can make these choices hindered by the rest of society's opinions or influences. I'm like, yeah, that's a bit. Anyway, I like that. I like using that model to go back and forth there for people who are confused about what parenting or maturity is and what it looks like.
Yeah. Hold on for one second. Oh no, yeah, no, yeah, my bad. Yeah, so I kind of wanted, I just had to build it out. I don't think it's too difficult to make that. To make
Not a big stretch at all. They got to, because people at this point have more empathy for pets and dogs than they do for actual people at this point. It's sadly helpful to start with the fact that I like dogs. You like dogs. You wouldn't just neglect a dog and let it just run wild in the streets and be exposed to the elements, right? That's terrible. Well, I don't think you do it to your children either. I think that's a terrible
right.
thing to do. Stop doing it to your children. You person who thinks it's okay to do it to your children. It's not okay to do it to your children.
I mean, so the the thing is, I don't think that the person that you really talking to is what am I trying to say? The people who are raising wild dogs and wolves aren't the people that I could actually reach with the conversation. It's the people who say that it's okay for people to raise wild wolves and wild dogs because they think that, oh, it's wrong to tell people how to go about this.
Exactly. Those are the ones who could use a little bit more context.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be a helicopter parent. I'm like, I don't think that's necessary either.
Nah.
But you neglected your child for a long period of time, and we can tell they have not been socialized. They don't know how to appropriately show respect to anyone, and they're not effectively solving problems, which just makes them unhireable. It's just a problem for them, but also you. They're going to live with you forever. You didn't have
Yeah.
to leave. You had a you had 18 years to figure out something else. And it seems like not one time did you think this could have been done differently.
But that's not even, it's the reason why I say wolves though is because, and I'm not saying it's anything new. I'm just saying that, told you, man, my feed is crazy. It's the hood on the internet. It's I can see all the things that are happening. And I'm like, oh, that's a level of, it's a disconnect. It's a level, so it's a different word I'm looking for, but it's a level of disrespect or just not even, life is not, once again, life is not valued, at all. And kids just wilding. And they got guns, a lot of them. They got a lot of guns. No, and it's so bad. Here's the other thing. Technology has really even changed the gun game because people are 3D printing guns and using them.
What they can. I mean, it's super hard to get those guns, but they are. They're using them and they're using them poorly. We're not teaching people how to use their strength well. And that's an opportunity we have. Like that is the reason why old school folk like 50s used to have gun clubs at school and no school shootings happen. Zero.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, 90s roll around and people were just like, I don't know how to use this gun. I don't know what this gun is for. And I don't like how this made me feel. I've been given no coping skills. And America says the only thing that makes a real person valuable or that gives any real respect to are the people who demonstrate their strength. So I'm going to go show people this is who I am. I do this. I'm about that life. I'm like, oh no, this is not the life you want to be about. It's cool to have strength. If you use your strength poorly like this to harm other people, those same people that you're harming can't give you that respect. You literally killed them. But also, you can't trade with the people you're shooting at. You can't be rich. If you say you want money, this is not the way you get it. I get it. No one told you that. And someone should have started off this conversation with, hey, all the successful people use their strengths really well to deliver value. Value is the thing they deliver, not bullets. Value.
I mean, but like I said, man, you're talking about people who never envisioned living beyond a certain place. They just 16, 17, 18. For them, it was, oh, wow, we 19. We're old now. We're old. 25, 26. Wow. Never thought we'd make it here. And so that's the part. I just think this is so stupid. If I watch the news and people so dumbfounded, like, oh my goodness, 3 people were shot over here, and they talk about it with such naivete. And
you imagine? How could this happen? Well, it happened yesterday.
yeah,
I completely imagine it is very clear. I I I get the most. I have the hardest time sounding empathetic during school shootings because people say such crazy things. And they're like, this is
yeah,
the worst thing that's happened in the history of America. 8 kids died. Like 30 kids died in Chicago yesterday. What do you mean? The worst thing in American history. Like, I hear you. This is a bad thing. But let's
yeah,
not ignore the fact that crime exists
yeah,
because it's just because it happened a little closer to you and or the people you like more than others doesn't make it unique. And I'm like, I get it. You don't like it and you think it's terrible. You want it to stop. And I think that part's okay. We're all on the same page. I want you to be equally as angry when tomorrow we find out that another 15 kids died in New York. Like I want that same level of this is unacceptable to come out of your mouth when I talk about your local city downtown, how the people there are starving and dying. Like I want to see that same level of energy.
but you're talking about people who are disingenuous be-
Yes, man.
because the thing is, man, is they have dumb they're living on feelings. So a school shooting happens, it becomes, why do we have guns? We need to get rid of these guns. No other country has guns, blah, 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 blah. And
Right?
I'm like, this is stupid. Guns are not bad. People are bad. We
They
have to
Guns are
do
just
something
tools.
about the people.
Use the tools, but otherwise we'll have a knife problem in the next 5 seconds. And then when knives gotta be banned, we have sharp things exist.
Right. But it's almost no different than, and it's another example of the stupid things that people say. Like I saw Lex Friedman put up a story with Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders started going in on some, I can't believe that a country this developed has a minimum wage of blankety blankety blank. People, I believe if people work 40 hours a week, they deserve to have don't to not live in poverty. So we should up the minimum wage. And I'm just like, you have an office. You hold an office. Holding an office for a long time. Someone surely has told you about economics in some way, shape, or fashion.
You've heard about that servant concept, right? At least once. Someone mentioned it.
You but he was like, it's not going to fix the problem, but it'll make it better. And this is the mentality that you talk that people
Yeah.
are talking about.
Yes,
Oh,
it
I
is.
don't know. I'm gonna throw my feelings at it and it'll make it better. No, it's not. It's not gonna make it better. You know what happened? If you only think about the next 5 seconds, you may be you may get a glimpse of better. But after those 5 seconds, when the prices of everything goes up and everybody's back to the same position that they were before, if not worse, then you would say, oh, this is not better. But because you blank out, you can pretend like it's better.
Right.
So it's just stupid. Have you not
It's
heard of hyperinflation? Have you not
right.
heard of these things?
Also lived through it. Like Bernie Sanders has been around the planet more than a couple years. He has gone through like multiple recessions directly caused by inflation. I'm like, you remember the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And like you remember every crash we've had directly caused by this statement right here. You did this thing. It's not that we don't know.
But this is what I mean about the stupidity. This is what I mean about the trying to use. It's so commonplace to try to use your feelings to solve a problem, and the people who think don't even have good defenses. They just they cower and be like, "Well, I care about people too," and I'm like, "Well, as soon as you give them that ground, then no, you don't. Now they're going to take the moral ground from you, and it's like you just need to say, no, this is what we should do. What you're saying is, I won't even say what you're saying is dumb. I'm gonna say this is why what you're saying doesn't work for these reasons. Bang, bang, bang. I am no longer acknowledging your response. If this is what you want to keep going with, I'm no longer acknowledging in that anymore. And it's just because it just has to have some kind of strong personality. Because once you start conceding ground, it's like, oh, we got him. We've got him from intellectual identification conversation to a feeling value based conversation. It's like, hey, wouldn't it be a good thing that there was no poverty in the world? Well, yeah, I think it would be a good. Why are you answering that question? Like, how do you know this? We think it's a good thing. This is a tactic to get you from talk. You want to have effective conversation, seeding the point of, yeah, it is a great thing if we could stop poverty. This is, this is not. It's
It's
not the
not in the
conversation.
realm of human possibility because it's not, we didn't cause it. Like, if you didn't start the thing, don't show up and be like, oh, yeah. Don't you think it'd be good if this thing just stopped? I mean, I think it'd be good to understand why it came from, but it
Yeah.
seems like you started and you didn't start it. So I don't know if you and I have the ability to fix it. I'm not saying we shouldn't make attempts to fix real problems.
Right.
Let's pick a real problem. How about that lady's poverty? Let's start with her.
Okay.
Fix it. That we could do. We are two private citizens. That's a private citizen. Hey, private citizen, how much poverty you have? How much you got? That may be something we could do, or maybe not. I don't know. That's a question. But until we apply it to a real thing that we can do something about, it's an anyway, like you said, it's a tactic. They're just distracting people so they can get your resources. But they don't have a good track record of using resources. Like, not theirs, not yours.
No, because they literally are exactly what they've shown themselves to be. They just care strongly.
Right.
That's what it is. Oh, they supposedly care strongly.
Right.
I just don't understand. Huh? It's just
Strong. So that's all we got.
it's just strange to me that people who care strongly and feel strongly seem to somehow weasel out more stuff than other people when they get the power. It's like, you really, really care, but like Nancy Pelosi really, really cares, but you're a millionaire. You just in the office. Why does your caring pay off more than other people's caring? Just like, for you though, not for.
I just the people who like when Bernie Sanders says things like that. I want Bernie Sanders to get out and start being the first one contributor. Like, all right, Bernie, if you're this concerned about raising wages, and you go ahead and you raise everybody's wage who works for you, everybody's wage you can with your funds. And once you finish that, then you can come get the rest of it.
But then he would actually have to do something, and then he would actually understand how a business works.
Like, what? I don't have enough money to magically fix all the worlds. What was I thinking? What were you thinking? The rest of us were all wondering what you were thinking. Because none of us had the magician's, wand to fix a problem that we did not create. But also, we barely had enough to feed ourselves. How were we going to feed the rest of the world? I'm not saying it's not a nice thing to feed people. That is beside the point. It is not within our village. Oh man.
Yeah, man, it's a. I was just going to bring up this last point. When you were talking, it just reminds me of this commercial that comes on when I'm watching TV. Oh, these two women, and they have some ailments, and their whole thing is, these people bought, I don't know if they bought it, but it's my prescription has gone up X% over the last year, and I'm worried about my livelihood, and these people are out here, what's the word? Price gouging me. Vote for Bill X, Y, and Z so Congress can get these prices down. And I'm like, yo, I don't want you to die, but Congress can't make the thing cost less. They don't have the power to do. I mean, they can make people accept less money, but then you got to have people to make it, people to develop it.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't get made.
Doesn't get made. There you go.
So, I mean, and then at the end of the day, like, people got to get paid. They go to work, they got to get paid. So, I mean, the idea that you're trying to guilt people into voting for this thing. Like they probably have no idea what they're saying, but the people
Right?
who made this, they know. They gotta
Yeah.
know. So
I mean, or they don't care to know. If they don't know, it's not due to a lack of information. It is definitely due to actual neglect. They're not looking for this answer.
no, no, they just hey, we want government to have some more power because it's probably something that's going to pay off for us too. It's
There
pretty
you
much
go.
what it is. So, yeah, man. I don't really have nothing. So, yes, man. Unless you got anything else,
We're good.
cool, cool, man.